Hello, everybody, and welcome to this inaugural episode of Convos with Cliz. Today, I've invited some very special guests. I have our director from our production team, Nullius Productions, Nikko Martinez.
Hi there. Hi,
A-
I'm Nikko Martinez. Sometimes I play the guitar and sometimes I play the fool.
And joining Nico is our editor slash sound man, EJ McLeod.
Hello there. Yeah, you already mentioned it. I'm Elijah Manglicmot, and I'm something of a musician myself.
Oh dear. Yeah, it's gonna be like that today. Okay. So today we have a topic brought to us by Nico. How not to make a short film. A bit of background before we begin. Nullius Productions started out in 2018. We went out and made a bunch of short films, and we apparently got like a fair bit of recognition for it. So, let's just dive right into it. I'll hand the mic over to the guests. Wherever they want to start. Let's start from there.
So around 2018, Cliz, EJ, and a couple of others, we started making short films. Then to answer the question, how we got started making short films? It's really uh, a beginner's guide on how not to make a short film. Kasi ang nangyari nun, merong call for entries sa University of Mindanao, the school where we were all enrolled, 'di ba? EJ, mga schoolmates tayo. Tapos si Cliz and I were buddies in the kasali kami sa isang organization na Debate Society. I don't know what happened to the society now. I hope still good. And nung nagkaroon ng call for entries sa UMFF, I told Cliz na, wanna make short films? And the decision was like something like a Greek Olympian judgment na, do you want to make short films and change the world? Parang ganon. I sound like a totalitarian dictator right here, right now, and I don't know why.
Well, you are the
And
director.
no, I don't want to be an emperor. And directing is such a very suicidal job, to be honest with you. So, Clis wrote the synopsis and then we submitted it. Pinasa natin doon sa committee, and then inapprove naman nila. The name of that project was Student Politician. And if I remember, still reminisce it correctly, ang nilalaman or the content of that synopsis was, it's about a student who wants to reform the political system of his school. Ang sabi ko, nung nabasa ko yan, sabi ko, pambihira. What I'm going to do? I can't shoot this. It requires, it's so very autobiographical on Cliz's side because according to him in our talks, going back many years ago na, he really wants to change the system because it's all screwed up. So he went, yung nangyari doon, correct me if I'm wrong, please. You establish the organizational chart ng ano yun? Anong tawag doon? Yung
Student council.
student council, student supreme government, SSG. And then they got you out because you were too ambitious. So yung nangyari, very Shakespearean. So ganun. Tapos balik tayo doon sa and when na-approve na, nagkaroon kami ng meeting. Sabi ko, wala akong script kasi hindi ako marunong pa ng pagsulat ng script at that time. And then we just nagkaroon din ng separate na meeting, and then sa meeting na yon, ipinapanood ko sa kanila yung the seventh seal ni Ingmar Bergman. 'Di ba, Jay? May pictures tayo nun. The Cliz will show it in this program.
I
And
think I
then,
have it. Yeah, I think I have it. I'll
nasa drive
pop it up
yun.
on screen if I can find a good enough quality picture of it. But yeah, I think I have it.
Tapos, ang payat-payat ko pa sa picture ngayon. In contrast to that, I'm so fat now. So, ano nangyari? We casted the actors. So, Jeremiah Moya was just another section from mine. And then Ranel Abellana, who was the girl in this short film, was just another couple of blocks from our section in the UM Bolton campus of the University of Mindanao. So and Daniel Catalan, sabi ko dahil ako ang nag-sub sa'yo nung debate nung para sa debate kasi hindi talaga nasalang lang ako noon uh, dahil nga wala na siyang ibang pamalit. So this debate was held at the intramurals of the school called Pasiatab, and this was where I first met Klizmer, and he was such a very very sharply dressed man. Kasi lagi naka-polo shirt tapos merong panghampas palagi, may dalang umbrella eh. So that's where we first met, and then months later, as time went by, yeah, we started to shoot the thing. And how did we start to shoot the thing? 'Di ba? Ang usapan natin doon, uh, wala tayong script, pero we have ideas. It's just a mumbo jumbo of many many ideas. And then we started shooting around Bolton. And then we shot one scene sa Felcre Centrale, tapos pinagalitan pa tayo ng guard kasi wala tayong permit na mag-shoot. And from that, we shoot random stuff like birds leaving, and then we shot it my house sa Doña Luisa. And pagkatapos ng lahat ng shoot, we figured out an editing. So sa editing, si Lee Hosol yung nag-edit ng film, and my goodness, who knows, I've tortured him so much nung nag-edit kami. So dapat kasi pag ang dapat malaman ng mga ng mga nagbabalak na pumasok sa filmmaking na artistry or industry, ang standard kasi is merong pre-production, pero before that, story and script development. Kapag narepaso na yung script, okay na para maplano sa pre-prod. Sa pre-production, doon nangyayari, this is where you plan out the shots and you secure locations for your shooting. And then doon din pinaplano kung gagawa ba ng sets, at saka kung gaano katagal yung duration. Pagkatapos ng pre-production, yung actual photography or yung principal photography, doon na nangyayari yung kinakailangan na shoot na footage according sa napagplanuhan sa pre-production. And then pagkatapos na masatisfy ang lahat ng requirements sa principal photography, doon na papasok sa post-production process. Sa post-production, dito nangyayari yung editing, VFX design, sound design, and etc. Doon nangyayari. And doon talaga kami nag-focus sa post-production kasi meron kaming mindset noon sa pinakaunang project namin nila Cliz, natin Cliz, na we'll just fix it in post. And that was so horrible.
Yeah.
I hardly slept that night. Kasi nag-record, sabi ko,
If you don't mind me pulling this back, we went through the whole process, right? But I think one of the most memorable parts was literally the trailer, because we were required to pass a trailer early, right?
yeah,
And
ay,
yet we
oo
were
nga pala.
like, yeah, and yet we were like, we just sort of just shot it and rolled with it. I want to ask EJ though, like, you saw both of us, me and Nico, go around Bolton. What was it like following these two crackheads, filming
I'm
wherever
not
they
a
could film?
crackhead, ah. My gosh.
Well, you gotta be a bit crazy to get started. That's the thing. Like, so I wanted to ask him, how did you feel being on a production that had no script, no screenplay, and yet in the end of it all, we got nominated for best screenplay
And best film.
and nominated for best film. Yeah, I want to ask, like, as a third person perspective here, EJ, since you were like focusing on sound and making sure we didn't screw up in certain places, how did it feel? Like, what did you see?
I'm just seeing a bunch of mental asylum escapees.
just a bunch of just a bunch of escapees. Yeah.
Yeah, both look like lunatics that time.
Well, you sir, I do still have pictures. We do look like lunatics. Um, and one thing that I really have to appreciate here is everybody just sort of rolled with it. Like me, you, Nico,
Renel
Melchor,
and Austin.
like a lot of a lot of our friends who we just like for lack of a better term, we sort of just met a few months ago. All in all, like everybody, and yet we were out here making a film that was going to be presented to college students at the University of Mindanao Film Festival. And okay, I want to ask, since you and Nico were the first ones to see the final cut of the film, what did you think? EJ first and then Nico. What did you think when the final cut came out?
If I have a say on this, it's just so that's how it is, huh? That's all I can say.
So that it's just like it just plopped out of the compute of Lee's computer, like, oh yeah, there it is.
This is fine.
This is. It's like that meme. It's like that meme. This is fine. Everything's on fire. This is fine. Nico, what did you think of the final cut?
Naalala niyo yung before I get to my comment on the short film. Meron akong nakita na what high school is like. Tapos may quote yung isang estudyante na everything high school is like filmmaking because everything was on fire and mali. Take two. What is high school like? High school like is riding a bike and the wheels are on fire and the ground was on fire and everything was hell. So that applies to filmmaking. So let me get back to my comments sa film. When I first saw it, I was, what? We made this? I still can't believe it na we achieved some of it in the camera work. At least sabi ko, hindi pa rin ako makapaniwala, sabi ko. Parang I could have done so much pa. Pero I'm proud of what we have done sa pagkatapos nun. We could have done so much more if we had more time. Kasi madalian lang lahat yun eh. At least, Liz, EJ, di ba? Hindi tayo ang worst film sa UMFF that year. Naaalala ko pa. Hindi tayo kalabasa.
Oh my goodness.
Naalala niyo yung kalabasa.
Oh my goodness, I'm peeking my microphone. Yeah, so yeah, even the poster, like even the poster with Jeremiah on it, I was like, yo, did we make this? This looks legit. Like, I remember I barely knew Photoshop at the time, and yet, we made this. Like that's the spirit of things, and EG can attest to this in that, like, we had plans and all, but we sort of just rolled with it at the end of the day. Like, we even showed up near City Hall, right? EJ was with me. So, and there was, I think, there was some sort of event. There was a lot of police people, so we just showed up here with a giant 300 millimeter lens on a DSLR, on a professional enough looking tripod. And we just sort of showed up, and people were like, "Woo, are you part of the press?" And we're like, no, we're a bunch of students. But it really looked like that's also what I noticed when you start filmmaking is a lot of people look while you're filming stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I can't
Curious sila eh.
I can't believe we didn't get robbed at Bolton with all that equipment. With all that equipment, I can't believe we didn't
Yeah.
get robbed. Of course,
They
EJ
wouldn't.
was right next to me. I was like, EJ, if someone takes this, you do the running. I can't run.
They wouldn't dare
They
in my
didn't
presence.
dare. But yeah, like one thing I really want to, highlight in this entire experience is like how many of us are still friends afterwards. Like, we made a film and that's really something. And we would go on to make other films in that short span of the year. Eventually my camera would die because it's been like worked to hell for 7 years at that point. But um here's another thing I want to ask you too is that what is it like looking back that you know what is it like looking back that we were able to make short films that people actually cared about even though we had no clue what they were talking about? How does that feel?
I can
EJ
only
muna.
I can only say one thing. Of all of the films that we made, I can't believe we're sober that time.
Yeah, we did. We
Coming
do.
from the guy who watches Salo and the 100 Days of Sodom.
Oh my.
EJ, favorite film natin yon.
Yes,
Yes! Woo! Shout out Pierre Pasolini.
still fresh in my mind. Just like it's just I watched that yesterday.
Oh my goodness, he watched it again. I'm not giving context to that because I'm not gonna, age restrict this video. To those who want to know, go ahead, but I will warn you. You may not
Search
recover.
search Salo or the 120 Days of Sodom. That is a very perfect date movie. Kung gusto niyo ma-in love ulit, gusto niyo ma-experience kung gaano ka-beautiful ang buhay, manood kayo ng film. It will change your life
One of the
eventually.
romance films of all time.
There's a
Yeah,
reason
this
why that film has been outlawed in multiple countries, okay? That's all I'm gonna say. But I'm not really out here to censor people, so, at your own risk, but, even if you're like over the age of 20, I still wouldn't recommend that. Like
so ano,
you guys showed up
basic
with a laptop playing that movie, and I was like, "Yo, is this all right?" But okay, moving on
I
from that.
remember it
Like,
was my laptop, but my laptop got stolen. My gosh.
I'm
But
pretty
I
sure the
can still,
thief had an enlightening experience stealing that thing. He
oh
opens it
my
up,
gosh.
sees like banned films. Like, sure, he stole your laptop, but he lost his sanity probably.
So going back, looking back, following what EJ said, na we're all sober. I believe that we weren't even on medication at that time, and we were so parang ang dami-dami nating morphine na na-infuse sa bloodstream natin at that time. So I still can't believe that we've made a lot of films that people na some of our films got critical accolades pa rin. And then sabi ko, we're not gaya nga na sinabi mo Clis na um yung hindi natin alam yung ginagawa natin. We don't even know what we're trying to do. We're just out there. Yeah, we make films. Uh, ganon.
Yeah, one thing that really struck to me about it is at the end of the day, we were just a bunch of students with cameras and cell phones.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
to give people context here, we are still editing on Adobe CS6, and Adobe CS6 was released in 2012. The final release of CS6 was in 2012, and we were using it in 2018, and I'm still using it in 2022. Like we were running on basically whatever we could scrounge up at that
Yeah,
point.
exactly.
Like, sure, we had a DSLR camera for those money shots, but then I think like it's not more so the equipment that made us different. It's literally like how we went about making films. Because you would later tell me later on, Nico, like, why does it feel like filmmaking nowadays feels so much more pretentious? Like when you got invited as the director of the film to go to places like Cinema Rion 11 for our later film Hagaw How, like it feels like the air is so much more different for other people who make film compared to our group, which we sort of just winged it. Like how does
Mm-hmm.
that feel?
Um, Kasi when I look at the when I attended Cinema Rehiyon, thanks to the invitation by the Ngilngig people, kasi sila yung nag-forward ng film. Nakita ko yung mga I saw the films of other filmmakers there and sabi ko, wow, some films are great and some are well, my gosh, what are these school projects? I can't watch a school project, man. Sabi ko, if yun na niya lang sa classroom, and then it end up being viewed in classrooms and some at some venues of the festival. And our film was selected to screen at an auditorium. And that was the only film that made sense to the audience at that time nung nag-screen siya sa Foundation University na auditorium sa Dumaguete. And then ang comment ni Sir Elbert Banyares, sabi niya, your films are free. Walang restrictions. The film we're talking about, ladies and gentlemen, is the film Hagaw How. Hagaw How came up with a very simple premise. It's nung naisip ko yung idea na yon, I was on vacation sa Midzayap sa Cotabato. And the premise was just a man says to, or a woman or a man says to another that I have just learned the most depressing thing or the saddest thing in my life. And then I developed it into a script. So this was the first time that finally may script tayo. 'Di ba nakita niyo Cles yung script,
It
'di
only
ba?
took two
No.
films for us to start making a script. Like
Yeah.
we had to do Student Politician, and then we had to do Deviant, which is a cine-minute, and only
Yeah,
then did we
we
start
have
making a script, which felt a bit different.
Deviant was just a parang judice-free siya na project because we were trying to submit to the Rebelde Film Camp to apply for it kasi meron si at that time Rebelde Film Camp was having a film workshop for up and coming directors in Batanes. So if our films got accepted, hopefully, but it didn't, we were gonna have free workshops in Batanes with the brightest in the industry of the Philippine cinema. So we went from student politician, we had to deviant, having no scripts, to the third one, Hagauhaw, with a very straightforward script. So when we shot it, I invited you to my other house here in Puan.
He's got multiple
Everything
houses,
was
people.
yeah. My gosh, it's been a long time, and everything. A lot of it has changed, really. If I was given a chance after doing these three films, I would really love to revisit them again and do more treatments. If only if we had the budget, because according to Andrei Tarkovsky, one of my idols in the pillars of uh, majestic filmmaking, said to write a poem, you need a pencil and paper. But that's the disadvantage of film is that you have to do it with money because you gotta pay people around. So you gotta pay on payroll. You gotta keep them happy. So well, I think I still remember what Hagawho cost to produce. It costed around 500 pesos if we count the cardboard scene and And the gas that you used, Liz, is na papunta dito sa bahay namin.
I don't really mind that part. What came into my mind was when the film finished its final cut, and the main difference between Hagaw Hao and the others is that, excuse me, at the time, Student Politician was edited. That was our first film. Was edited by EJ and Liho Sol, and then
Yeah.
Deviant was edited by EJ mostly, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, EJ.
EJ mostly edited Deviant. But when we went about and made Hagaw Hao, which for one reason or another became our most critically acclaimed film, like we yeah, a fun fact about Hagaw Hao, it got forwarded to Mindanao Film Fest and other film festivals without our knowledge. Like when we submitted
Yeah.
it to Nilngig, they just sort of, oh, by the way, we sent it out for exhibition. Wait, what? Like, um,
This after we finished the film, we sent it to the Ngilngig Film Festival, and then they forwarded it to as part of the Ngilngig Film Showcase, as part of their showcase to Mindanao Film Festival, and then 11, which was in Cagayan de Oro, and then finally to Cinema Rayon. So that's four film festivals, and then we haven't had an idea that it would be like that. So
it brought
it's
us to
really,
so many places. And you know what? And the funniest
yeah,
thing about it is that Hagaw Hao had the worst equipment out of all three films. It had the worst equipment. It had to use like I believe it had to use my mother's laptop, which was being used by my sister at the time, which was a lot more underpowered. It had to use more footage from cell phones because we couldn't get me on set for long enough for the other shots. And we had one less person to edit it with because EJ wasn't available at the time. And so we borrowed my dad's conference room, locked ourselves in, and it was my turn to get tortured by the director for about 5 whole hours just to just to get it out. And one thing that was really interesting is since EJ wasn't there, we didn't have somebody to reference the audio with because main job of EJ is to make sure the audio is like decent, presentable, because that's his specialty. So I
exactly.
decided to commit a bunch of audio sins. Yeah, I decided to commit a bunch of audio sins for the Hagaw Hao in that I like 60% of the audio in Hagaw Hao is not original audio. Like it's taken from the Sony Cinematic audio database, a very old database of audio I found laying around. And the traffic sounds, the white noise, that was not in the film, and yet, nobody noticed to this day. Like, that's what I want to ask you guys is that how does it feel to be a filmmaker? Like, a lot of people aspire to be a filmmaker nowadays, especially with the rise of social media and all that fun stuff. But having been there making films, albeit with a bunch of cuckoos, how does it feel? Like having that under your belt. I want to ask EJ first. How does it feel? Like, oh, I'm a filmmaker. Like, how do you carry that with you?
There's only one question in mind. Yo, I'm a filmmaker.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
that's how I feel about it. I'm like, ooh, I'm a DOP now. Like,
Uh,
ooh,
how did I get here?
seems
Remember one
legit.
time I just I just invaded your classroom that time and you were there.
Like,
Hey, you want to be the
hey,
sound guy?
AJ. Like,
Alright.
we're making a film now. Okay, I guess this is my life now. Nico, how does it feel like becoming a filmmaker and having that under your belt? Because, um, a lot of time has passed. I mean, since 2018, we had the pandemic, early 2020, and I was on my mission for the better part of 2019. So, how does that feel like being a filmmaker now, having that, I wouldn't say the creds, because credentials doesn't really matter, but having the output? How does that feel?
Well, externally, you can't really say na ano na nagbago ka bilang filmmaker externally, what others perceive of you, but internally, from the self, about from myself, a lot has changed my perspective on a lot of things, especially now when I view Hollywood films or the films that I really love, that I'd really like to watch. I would be amazed on how they pulled this thing off in principal photography or in the editing process. Sabi ko, my gosh, we could also do this, you know. Uh, but the resources really that are the ones that really bother us the most because yeah, filmmaking costs money. But being a filmmaker makes you appreciate things on screen when you watch films in the future. Being in the filmmaking industry changes your perception on how you view films because you're going to be the critique of its dialogue, the camera movement, and how they pace the film, and the performance of the actors. Everything changes. You're not just a casual filmmaker. Yay! I love Iron Man. Iron Man's on screen. No, now you appreciate the lighting, you appreciate the production design, the art department did on certain films. So that's really a plus for me, and as well as to all of us. We've learned to appreciate good films now, and how to separate from good films and from bad films. Well, personally, I believe that there are no bad films. There are just bad direction. So you can't. What's the difference between Hitchcock's The Birds from Birdemic? It's just direction. Two two films with that have great stories, but the direction is only that matters. And remember, and one thing to keep in mind is that being on the directorial chair for too long makes you bit a bit suicidal because you're the one who's gonna deal with all the changes. If one scene changes, you gotta deal with the rest of it and how you're gonna apply it. So it really changes you from there. You start to be creative. You start to be more spontaneous when you do filmmaking, and then you
I
find
want to
yourself
be on
what.
that point first for a sec, on being on the director's chair. Because after Hagaw How, of course, I went on my mission for a good while. You and AJ went about and made another film, Rainy Sunday Afternoon, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
And
yeah. We're
and the
in
main
Sunday
and the
afternoon.
main difference of that was I've been serving under you as a director of photography for the better part of 3 films. And that was really your first foray into being a director and a cinematographer at the same time, like a director without a cinematographer.
Yeah,
How did that go down? How did that go down? That brief period of you and EJ like not having me around. How did that go down?
well, I started a rainy Sunday afternoon because of an idea that I wanted to collaborate with the love of my life. I hope she hears this. She's the love of my life. And I'm not going to say her name even because we had an agreement not she interested me with. I had this idea of somebody contemplating while it's raining. And then my approach to filmmaking is if I see something interesting, even it's so boring and dull, I shoot it. What others perceive as boring and dull may be interesting to me. So there was this rain on an actual Sunday, and then I just placed my camera on the patio of our house and then started recording and started contemplating. Then in the editing, I asked EJ over to edit the thing. So, di ba Jay?
Yeah.
Di ba ang inedit natin yung film hindi dito sa bahay kundi doon sa doon sa internet cafe sa Santa Ana, which is
Yes.
closed down now.
Sa Siberia.
Hindi sa Siberia yun, nakalimutan ko yung pangalan ng cafe.
No,
And
yung
I still remember that because it was December 31, 2018.
mm,
My
New Year's
gosh,
Eve.
New Year's Eve. And I still regret ang payment ko noon, binigay ko sa iyo is 500 pesos
Gift
gift
certificate.
check yun, 'di ba? Sa SM. So, bawi lang ako sa iyo, Jay, huwag kang mag-alala. So,
Yeah. Oh, wait.
ayun, we were really satisfied with the result of a rainy Sunday afternoon. And then it got to two film festivals. One, the first festival was it was included in saan yun? So Sala Mindanao. So I showed them another cut, and then I showed the original cut of the film sa Cine de Oro sa ilahang I forgot the section of that, but it was part of there. So that was that. Ang hirap lang siguro kapag director ka tapos ikaw pa cinematographer, hindi mo malalaman lalo na ikaw pa din ng actor kasi sa sobrang low budget ninyo. Ang hirap lang, hindi mo kayang i-adjust yung camera na titingnan ko masyado ba siyang sharp, masyado bang harsh, marami bang noise, yung ibang factors that you have to consider when you're shooting the scene. So napakahirap talaga maging actor, director, and then subtitling pa ng film. It's really a strenuous process. Very straining siya. Kasi na-detrain ka talaga mentally eh. And I want to give out a shout out to my brother, my best friend, Ricky Rapisura, who translated the Tagalog dialogue for me for the film. Si Ricky Rapisura. Rick, good luck dyan sa Columbia University sa New York. So that was it. Ricky helped me out, even though his schedule was really tight. He really has the time for me and for to look at of the things I'm currently writing, and then and even in the future, he's really good to me. So that was that. Not for so to make this long story short, napakahirap talaga mag-adjust na wala kang personal na DOP kasi hindi mo alam kung anong result. Malalaman mo lang yung result kapag tapos ka na nag-shoot. So, but I was still satisfied and it was really enchanting. I love that project. It was among all the projects that we did. It was I still hold it's still the project that I hold very dear to my heart.
Yeah, a bit about Rainy Sunday Afternoon is I remember he had it recut actually by AJ after the original
Yeah.
cut aired. Why did you decide to recut that film?
To be honest with you, I really don't know. I still don't know the reason why. I was pushing it for maybe I was pushing it to be more experimental, and I included a live speaking dialogue of the Shakespearean monologue of in Tagalog of To Be or Not to Be at the actual screening. And I have a very interesting experience sa Sala Mindanao. Direct Teng Mangansakan was really accommodating, and he took us very well. Took care of us very well. But yun lang siguro, na-disappoint lang ako nung time na yun kasi hindi nila tinapos ang film ko and they started eating. But I can't blame them. They're the but it was still a very enriching experience for me. So to make my answer to that is I was pushing towards more a more avant-garde form of the film. and I really didn't like it, and that's that.
Okay.
There,
So let's wrap up this conversation really quick. In that, um, are there any future plans for Nullius production? Because you and me are still. Actually, you're going to the same school as I am, right? This opening August?
yes.
Okay. And
Coming back
EJ, I
soon.
Anyways,
believe, is getting more free time, right? EJ?
Although I'll be start enrolling again.
Oh, we're so this is gonna be really interesting now that we are turning from senior high schoolers to full bona fide college students. Are there any plans in the future?
who goes first, EJ or I?
Well, whoever has the idea, go ahead.
I'm developing something, and the script is done, but I need to storyboard it because. But I'm still in the I have the first draft of that script, and that's the film I wanted to make. I'm not gonna say the title here, but the story is a literal interpretation of the Book of Revelation from the Holy Bible, and I don't know if I'm gonna push to animate the entire thing or shoot or incorporate both elements of it. I'm still in the process of figuring it out why. And I'm still referencing for if there are many films like it, but the synopsis is it's a surreal journey. It's a surreal journey. Very, very surreal. And things are, and I think I'm gonna go on hunger strike for my baon just to produce the entire thing. Joke lang. But there is a possibility, a window of possibility. And the target date of completion is I wish to shoot it next year and submit it on by 2024 to festivals, and I hope they like it. So that's the looming project for now.
Okay, EJ, do you have any plans for any projects you're gonna work on while you're gonna be at school?
Uh, as of now, I'll be just got one call away for Nico.
Yeah, we're gonna have donuts, man.
Yeah, that's really like
Donuts.
that's a tradition at this point. Donuts or pizza, that's the tradition. Like even that meeting at 7-Eleven, we were just sort of eating donuts and whatever we could get our hands on. So it's exciting now. And thank you so much for the conversation. Nico, EJ, do you have anything you want to plug at the end of the show? Socials or any online present stuff? Go ahead.
So before I leave this conversation, because it was a really interesting thing on how not to make a short film, I would like to recite to you by memory the Think Different ad from Apple. Here's to the crazy ones, the misfits, the rebels, the troublemakers, the round pegs in the square holes, the ones who see things differently. They're not fond of rules and they have no respect for the status quo. You can quote them, you can be with them, glorify or vilify them. About the only thing you can't do is ignore them because they change things. They push the human race forward. While some see them as the crazy ones, we see genius because the crazy people enough who can think that they can change the world are the ones who do. So, everybody, if you want to get into filmmaking, stay hungry for more knowledge, more wisdom, and have a huge stockpile of imagination in your arsenal. Because if you don't have wisdom, knowledge, and imagination, you're not going to reach anything. And Stanley Kubrick also said, if it can be thought of, it can also be filmed. The problem is just how it's going to be filmed. And if you can also follow me and on social media. I have I'll be posting my links down below, so you can follow me. And I don't post too much. Go, EJ.
Well, how do I put this? For socials, I don't think it's appropriate for me to just blatantly pronounce my public account. But know this: those who know will know, those who have eyes will see, and those who will hear. That's all.
Amen.
Okay, real big thanks to coming out today and going on the inaugural episode of the Convos podcast. I was so excited to have you guys. It's just unfortunate that Lee had to cancel last minute, you know. But here's to more things in the future from Nullius Productions. I'm pretty sure all the
Yes.
I'm pretty sure all the film critics that kept an eye on us will be quite happy to hear this episode. Um, and so I've been Cliz Maricafort. This has been Convos with Cliz, and see you all next time.